Because I can say I'm not going to eat candy, but I can't keep putting myself at the candy store. And I can't hang around people who eat a lot of candy. If I'm preparing myself to run, then I can't hang out with people who are not in the same mindset as me. I can't condition my mind to do something that everybody around me is conditioning their minds to do the complete opposite of what I'm trying to do. And you can't tell me it's because you're trying to be a good witness to somebody. If I can't eat candy, I don't need to witness to you at the candy store. I can stand outside the store. And as you go in and come out, I can be an example of somebody who doesn't need to go in there, who has enough self-discipline not to do that. Yeah. So don't tell me that you go to the club because your friends go, because you're witnessing. Why don't you be the example of, I don't need to go. You don't need to drink with them. You don't have to smoke with them. You don't have to lie with them, gossip with them, steal with them to witness to them. You be the example of, I'm not going to eat the candy. I'm just not going to eat it. I don't need it. It's not pulling on me. That doesn't bother me. If you eat it right in front of me, girl, I don't need that. I don't need that. Because I'm training for something. There's a race I have to win. There's something I have to do. There's something that God has called me to do. Well, there's 3 positions when you're getting ready to run. And I know as children that when you get ready to race, I know all of us have said it, on your mark, take up. And when God gave this to me, I was very interested in understanding exactly what that means. Because I didn't know. I mean, as a kid, you just stood there. You heard on your mark and said, and you just go when they said go. But to understand exactly what being on your mark means. When I researched that, I was like, God, you're awesome. It says to take your place. To be on your mark means to pay close attention to. So that line that's right there before you run, when you step up to the line, you're in your place. So you can't run from the sideline. And you can't run from home. And you can't run from anywhere but the place that the race is taking place at. So Romans 12, 1 through 2 says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you, give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. That's your place. That's your mark. You got to pay close attention to where you stand. You got to be in your designated lane that God set for you. Because you can't run unless you're in your place. I think sometimes we tend to be in other people's lanes. And my daughter, when I watch her run and she tells me, like, you can't cross the lanes, you get disqualified. You do this and get disqualified. And God's like, that's the same thing with me. You don't want to be disqualified because I'm in somebody else's lane. I have to run my own race. Translation, mind your own business. You can't run somebody else's race for them. Nor can you be mad because their race seems easier than yours. So you don't want to run yours at all. So you sitting on the sideline telling God, she ain't got that many obstacles I got. Why she get to run the inside lane? I got to run the outside lane. My lane's longer than her. Well, that's not your race. God knows what she can bear. And God knows what you can bear. And God knows that what he has in store for you during your journey is to mold you to become the woman of God he's called you to be. I can't be Brenda. And Brenda can't be me. My story molded me. And your story molds you. So stay in your place. Because crossing over to the other lane is not doing anybody any good. It does you a disservice. Because then you don't get the lessons that you needed to trip and fall right there. Maybe Sally didn't need to fall. Maybe her fall is past yours, or she already fell. So you can't sit up here and be mad because your race doesn't look like somebody else's race. To get set, because you know when we on our mark, we in our place. To get set means to get in position. And you know you see runners as soon as they stand in and they squat down. They're in their position. And the true definition for get set says to get in position for others to follow. So if we're in our place, now we need to get in a position for other people to follow. People are watching you. So your position matters. And I'm not talking about your church position, because that don't matter. The position you are in as an individual Christian, as a woman of God, your position matters. I don't care what your title is, I'm talking about your position. And there's a difference. Deuteronomy 10:12 says, "And now Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you? He requires you only fear the Lord your God and live in a way that pleases him, and to love him and serve him with your heart and soul." So your position should be one of obedience. You in the place you need to be. You denied your flesh. Now you need to obey. It's not enough for you just to deny. You have to obey. You know, you tell your children what to do and what not to do. Now my kids can sit in the house all day and say, "Okay, Mama, I'm not doing anything wrong," but you're not doing anything. And sometimes as Christians, that's what we do. We want to sit on the pew and say, "I don't do nothing wrong. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't cuss, I'm not sleeping with nobody." But what are you doing? You're doing nothing and saying that you're a Christian? That's not obedient. That's complacent. That's just being. There's no easy way to this walk at all. You can't just, the coach tells my daughter 3 days a week I have to take her to school at 7 a.m. Now, is she obedient if she goes? Yes, but she can go and still not run. Was she disobedient? No. She came to school at 7 in her clothes, and she can go right to that track and sit down. She obeyed what he said. She's in her place, but she's not running. So there's something we have to do besides just saying, "I don't do nothing." Being a Christian is not, "I don't do nothing." You know how many times women tell me, "Well, I don't do nothing." And I said, that's the problem. You can tell me all the stuff you don't do, but you haven't told me what you do. So surrendering your flesh and not succumbing to your desires, those are two different things. Because one of them we sitting, and the other one, it takes action to deny stuff. If I try to hand you something to eat that you don't want to eat, you're going to push it away. I don't know how many people would sit here and just go like this and say, "Well, I'm not going to eat it." If I'm shoving it in your face, you're going to push it away. You're going to do something to say, "Hey, this is not what I want. This is not what I like." This is the same thing we have to do with our fleshly desires. This is not what I want. This is not what I like. This is not good for me. It's an action on our part. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate one or love the other. He will stand by and be devoted to one, despise and be against the other. You cannot serve God and serve mammon, which is money. And you can't serve God and serve you. You have to choose. To go definition to go means to move, to proceed, to leave one place, to go to another. It also means to die. You know when somebody died, you say, oh, she's about to go. So when we get in our place and we get in position, the next thing we do, we need to leave where we were and go somewhere else. We need to die to ourselves, to the old self. Leave it and go forward. Because staying in your current situation is not racing. If you're stuck in your current situation, you're not running. I can't just stand here. We have to leave where we were to get where we're going. And along the way, there's going to be hurdles. I'm not a hurdler. I'm not. My son, he's a hurdler. Loves it. And short as he is, clears every hurdle. Just gone. My daughter, she doesn't run hurdles. I'm not a hurdler either. I can't even tell you, I don't see the point of jumping over stuff. I don't see the point of running, actually, unless anything's chasing me. But I look at my kids and they're on the track, I'm like, yay for you. Didn't get that from me. But a hurdle is actually an obstacle of difficulty. That's what the definition of a hurdle is. It's put there to be difficult. It's something to be overcome. Because the complete definition is an obstacle of difficulty to be overcome. So it's meant for you to overcome it. So when you got hurdles in your life, they're not meant for you to wallow. I had them bring this, go find me a white flag, because you ever watch war movies and you watch stuff and they get to waiting, surrender. What we give up to. Surrendering means to give yourself up to influence, to coerce, to give yourself up to emotions. It means to give up, abandon, relinquish your comfort, your hope, to give your power to another. Voluntarily abandonment. You just say, I'm there. You just take it. You accept despair. It's a verbal act of admitting defeat. When you see somebody waving a flag, they're saying, I quit. You win. You overpower me. You can have it. I have no power to defeat you or what's going on. Unproductive, unfruitful, adding nothing of exchangeable value. When you're in a situation that it doesn't add anything to you, and you're not really adding anything to it, it doesn't produce any desired results in your life. Knowingly, it's not a surprise to you. You know what you're doing is not working. So I want to talk about somebody who's really stuck. I'm going to read it from the Amplified version, and it's John 5, 2 through 9. And then I'm going to skip down to 14. It says, now there is in Jerusalem a pool near the sheep gate. This pool in Hebrew is called Bethesda, meaning having 5 porches or alcoves or doorways. In these laid a great number of sick folks, some blind, some crippled, some paralyzed, shriveled up, waiting for the bubbling up of the water. For an angel of the Lord went down at an appointed season into the pool, and moved and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after the stirring up of the water, stepped in, was cured of whatever disease in which he was afflicted. There was a certain man there who had suffered with a deep-seated and lingering disorder for 38 years. And when Jesus noticed him laying there helpless, knowing that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you want to become well?" He was asking him, "Are you really earnest about getting well?" The invalid answered, "Sir, I have nobody when the water is moving to put me in the pool. But while I'm trying to get into it myself, somebody else steps in ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your bed, and walk." And if you skip down to 14, he said, afterwards, when Jesus found him in the temple, he said to him, "See, you are well. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." Now, after Jesus healed him, he told him to stop sinning. And in some versions it says, "Go and sin no more." So you may be wondering, well, what did he do? What was his sin? The man is sick. He just said, "Go." See, Jesus, what he was accusing him was complacency. And what does it mean to be complacent? It means that you're pleased, especially with oneself or one's merits or advantages or situations, often without awareness of some potential danger or defect. I'll go to the next one. So, yeah, I really want y'all to get that. When you're complacent, you're happy with yourself and how hard you're trying in your situation. But you're not even aware of how dangerous it is being complacent. This man was pleased with his efforts. He had to be. He told Jesus as if it was a good thing. "I've been coming here 38 years, sitting in the same place, waiting for somebody else to pick me up and put me in the pool. And when I try to get in the pool, somebody goes before me." And the thing about that is, was he wrong for going there for healing? No. Because Bethesda was known as a place of healing. But the word Bethesda also has to do with being lame and sick. So how can you be at something that has a dual meaning? You're sitting somewhere that's supposed to be a place of healing. That's supposed to be a place where you can come. Is that not what we do in church? We sit because it's the place. But you wait for somebody else to put you there. Somebody else to sing you there. Somebody else to preach you there. Because you won't put yourself in the wall. 38 years may sound crazy. But 38 years, some of us are doing the same thing. We have spent most of our lifetime waiting for somebody else to get us out of a mess we made. We give in to what's familiar, our intimate relationships, our personal relationships, our church relationships. We stay simply because we're used to it. Even though these situations don't produce the results we want. You make physical, emotional, and spiritual compromises to stay in something that don't work. So otherwise, Jesus was telling him, go. And don't get stuck like that again. Now, when you're in traffic, you know the traffic is either moving one way or the other. It's either going east and west, north and south, in town, out of town. And medians, you know, the strip right in the middle. It's usually made of brick or grass or something. And the purpose of a median is not to just separate traffic, but also to eliminate the possibility of crossover. See, we are either going towards Christ or away from him. Towards our destiny or away from him. There's no, you shouldn't cross over. There's something set in the middle to keep us from crossing over. But then there's those times when we don't want to make a clear choice in what direction we're going. So we just get on the median. Now, I don't know how many of you drive on the median, but it's almost impossible to try to drive or get anywhere on a median because they're not made for that. They're made to draw a clear line for you to make a decision which way you're going. We say with our mouths, we're Christians. We surrender with our lives to unchristlike things. When you are on the median, it's either going to run out or it's going to be impossible to drive on there. And how do we get up there? How do we get stuck? Well, usually, I like to say we're stuck because we've made shallow, carnal, and foolish decisions and twisted the word to help us stay where we are instead of where we should be. We make shallow, carnal, and foolish decisions. Shallow decisions are superficial. We do what looks good, sounds good. It lacks any intellectual depth. It's just surface. And we make decisions based on that. Carnal, anything feel good to this. Not the spirit, but to the flesh. Foolish, unwise decisions that have no caution and consideration when we do. We just do them. No forethought. And then we make the Bible fit us instead of us conforming to it. Some of my favorites when I talk to people who are stuck is, well, God knows my heart. Yeah, he does. And he said the heart is deceitful among all things, desperately wicked, and beyond cure. Who can understand it? He said, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward a man according to his conduct, according to what deeds he deserves. So yeah, he does know your heart. He knows it's wicked, because we're sinful creatures. And all things work together for good. You know there's some more to that scripture, right? I like the Amplified version. It says, we are assured to know that God, being a partner in our labor, all things work together and are fitting into a plan for good to and for those who love God and are called according to his design and purpose.
Yeah.
That's the scripture. For those who are called according to his purpose. Are you called according to his purpose? Do you love him?